Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I just want to briefly give some advice to American and other veterans from the war on terror and so on, who may be still fumbling with certain experiences they may have had or trying to make sense of certain things. And my advice is that, a lot of this stuff, it never really will make sense. Now, now you can learn a bit about, the history of these countries and the wars that led up to them and so on, and that will make more sense intellectually when you learn more about these people and their countries and their histories, and about the war on terror and the events leading up to them. It's not extremely beneficial to learn that, but for some people it can be a little bit. But generally, for most people, what I recommend is that, when you think back on these things, maybe you'll learn some lessons, but generally, for the most part, it was kind of a dark place. The reality is, yes, the service members are generally kind of tools in a machine that weren't really doing a very ethical job, in the bigger picture. Now, individuals here, maybe they came very sincerely. They had no idea what they were doing, but they knew they wanted to do something good and help people, and maybe some of them actually did. But generally, with the actual overall mission objectives and all the people really pulling the strings behind the scenes, nothing good could have come out of that, because the people behind it, they're too corrupt. You can't really. It's unlikely you'll ever achieve anything truly good. Even on such a big organizational level, with that much ignorance, and that many hands in the pot trying to change things and pull it my way and so on, nothing good is really going to come out of that. So a lot of people, they went in, did their deployment, and came back, and they're like, I'm just here to survive and go home and leave, and just kind of do my job and leave. And the reality is, a lot of these people that you were fighting, I mean, you never really met. Like, most of them never really met the average Iraqi or the average Afghan or the average local, the average Arab, the average Muslim. Like, you never really interacted with them. So that's a big key here. So number one is just kind of leave the bad things in the past behind. Don't try to use your intellect to understand them or ruminate about these things. There's no benefit. There's little benefit to that usually. It's better to actually just leave it behind. And I've heard some people say, put it in a shoebox and store it for later. Don't do that. Empty that out of you. You want to empty it out of you. You want to be someone who you want to empty the nastiness out of you, the bad memories. Let it go. That's what you need to do. Just let it go. And you can tell yourself, look, if you talk to yourself, there's a lot going on inside of yourself, inside of your heart. It's a lot more than just a heart that pumps blood. Like there's a physical heart that pumps blood, and there's a spiritual heart where you really are. And deep in there is where you find out why you were created and your higher purpose in life. And through your relationship with your Lord, with the Creator, with God, with Allah. Leave the bad things in the past behind. Ruminating about dark things never really gets you anywhere. Thinking about God, thinking about your higher purpose in life, praying to Him, going to Him, that's where you find your higher purpose in life. So focus on that. Now, one thing is that when it comes to people who you're interacting with, you're on edge probably. You probably didn't really have any high-level interaction or discussion with any Muslim, especially any average Muslim. Like the guy who's cutting shawarma on the side of the street, he may have a lot to tell you, actually. You may have very interesting conversations with you. If you were to hang out with him for a couple of weeks, you may have a very, very interesting and life-changing experiences with these people, and you'll realize that you actually have a lot to learn from them and from their lifestyle, and from their culture and their beliefs and so on and so forth, okay? So number one is actually think well of the average people in these countries. The average Iraqi, the average Afghan, they're incredible people. I'm going to tell you that. I met several, and they're incredible people. The Afghans are amazing people. A lot of them can speak English now. And if you go to Turkey, if you go to some of the universities there's actually a lot of students from Afghanistan there, and they're fascinating people to talk to. They're amazing people. I've met several Afghan friends over the years, and in America as well. There's a lot of former interpreters and such. Go and spend time with them. They have a lot to tell you. If you hang out with them, look at their culture, observe how they live. There's a lot of subtleties if you quiet your heart and sit and kind of observe and be with God while you observe them. You'll be like, wow, there's actually a lot of subtleties here that are very beneficial to learn from and maybe implement in my life. One thing is like communal eating. There's a lot more than just people sitting and eating together in those. There's huge blessings coming down. When Muslims sit together and eat, like if somebody needs to heal from a disease, like just going and hanging out with Muslims and asking for them to pray for you and observing how they eat, eating together, eating communally, that can be very healing actually. And you may say, well, what about health and nutrients and all that? Well, at the end of the day, there's a lot more than that going on in reality. The average Westerner has a very low level exposure to reality. They're living like way down here, and need to move up. We need to move up much higher. Because a lot of Muslims are actually living way up in this spectrum, actually. That's one reason why they're such resilient people. They can tolerate, and a lot of them are given huge tests, because the average Joe, is an extremely good person. And you'll learn a lot about them. They're very faithful. They're very honorable people. They're very kind. They're extremely hospitable. They have a lot of love. They're very loving people, actually. There's a strong brotherhood. If you're a Muslim, go to any Muslim country in the world, and usually you'll find strong brotherhood there, and they'll all respect you very highly. If you convert to Islam, most of the Muslim world will love that. They'll love to hang out with you, to spend time with you. They'll support you. They'll help you wherever you go in the world. If you go to Indonesia, Malaysia, Egypt, Morocco, South Africa, if you go to Turkey, for the most part, most places there. If you go to, you can go almost anywhere. And actually, a lot of people are actually going back to like Iraq and doing tourism there already. A lot of Kurdish regions and so on. Even Baghdad, Najaf, there's a lot of Islamic sites there to see incredible history there that people just blew past, when they're invading the country or whatever. But you had no idea what land you were driving on. If only you knew where you were. And you came in a different way. As a tourist, or as a religious tourist, you have no idea what's really in that country. What's in Baghdad, what's in Najaf, what's in Basra. Do you have any idea what the history of these cities are? They're incredible. I'm encouraging you to learn about them. Read about Basra back in the 9th century. Read about Baghdad in the Abbasid era. Read about the Umayyad Caliphate, the Abbasid Caliphate. Read about the Ottoman Empire. And then when you go and you look at these places and you understand more and more about the histories of these places, about the shrines of the saints who you can visit, in their graves, and all the theology and the blessings behind that visitation, your life could totally turn upside down in a good way and in a much better way. And if you have a need, you have a problem, you have a health problem, sometimes going and visiting these incredible people, and then praying to God, because that location, the blessings in that location is like coincides with the blessings of the person who's buried there, right? It's a very sacred and blessed place. What does it mean? It means people who are needy go there. People who are just spiritual go there. People who are, some people just go there regularly every week. It's such a blessed place. Because yes, they passed away, but that's where they were buried, and people aren't just like, vaporized after they die or something. Like, no, their soul comes out and they're still alive and they're still interacting with God and so on and so forth. There's a lot going on at these shrines. There's a lot more than the naked eye sees, but the blessed eye, when your inner eye is opened up in your heart, sees a whole lot more than that. It's a very blessed place. Another is that when you go to the Muslim world, and you meet and interact with Muslims, a lot of these Muslims are very blessed people. Many of them are very educated, very spiritual, and God will uplift you through them. So my advice to you, is to leave the past behind you. To drink some water, but my advice to you is, visiting the Muslim world can be very beneficial. Go there with an intention, explore the history, explore the historic sites. The pyramids, there's not a lot to see at the pyramids here in Egypt, but there's a whole lot to see in a whole lot of other sites. Masjid Amr ibn al-As, that's the first mosque in Africa. Who stepped here before? Do you know how significant that is? The Masjid al-Azhar, the Azhar system. The history there is incredible. If you read about the students who studied there, what's going on there now is amazing. You can visit the students and sit with the students there. A lot of them can speak English. So Egypt is amazing. Turkey has an incredible history. You'll never regret going to Turkey. I don't think so. Morocco is excellent. Algeria, there's many good things to see there. Malaysia, Indonesia, incredible histories. But go there with intention. To get closer to God, to learn more about yourself, and to learn from the Muslim world, and to learn from the Muslim people. And go there and try to find and sit with Muslim people. God will generally give you what your intention is. So go with a good, sound intention, a pure intention. Avoid bad things. Don't ever drink alcohol in a Muslim country. I would say don't ever drink it again at all. Give up the alcohol, give up any drugs, give up these things, and your life will get way better if you're doing those things. Just give those up, and it will help you move on to a higher place and a higher existence. Visit the Muslim world with a sincere intention. Be sincere that you're there for spiritual reasons, that you're there to grow. You're there to grow as a person. You want your heart to grow, and it will. I think that it will. Inshallah, it'll be a very good experience for you. It'll be very healing for a lot of people. Another is find good people to be around. Don't sit around bad people, and don't ruminate about the past. Focus on the future. Focus on healing. Focus on living healthy. Growing in knowledge, growing in your understanding, read and study and use your time wisely. And all these things will make a lot more sense, in the future, and be careful about any kind of, radicalism, the radical left, the radical right, or any kind of radicalism. Always try to choose the middle road. Find the middle road and choose that, and always try to seek the understanding. If you hear anything, if you see any kind of a people or a group, either if you want, you can ignore them and move on with your life, but otherwise, try to understand, rather than judge or hate, which is even worse. It's better to understand, because again, you're generally kind of given your intention. If you just want to hate people and be ignorant, well, then you can hate people and be ignorant. Well, congratulations, you're a hateful person who's ignorant. And that's not a very high existence, Or you can be a person who's intellectual, who seeks understanding, who seeks spiritual growth and development. That's a much higher intention. So put your intention as high as it can be. And the highest intention you can have is to return to God, in the way that's best for you. That's the highest intention you can have. And I'm just here for the sake of God. I'm not here for any kind of other personal reason. I'm not here to get something out of you, or for you to praise me or speak highly of me, or to give me this or that or whatever. I'm just here for God's sake, on a personal level, and to grow my personal relationship with God on a spiritual level. And you'll go really fast to God doing that, especially He'll put people in front of you who will help you with that. And you can move really fast if that's what you want. And that's a fast way to heal as well, because He's the ultimate true healer. Everything else you take is a means of seeking healing from Him, whether it's going to a counselor, doing this, doing that. You just find look for and find the highest thing for you. What is the best thing for me here in this city or in this town, or what's the best job for me? What is most befitting for me? Those are the things you should seek out. Seek out the higher things and leave behind the low things. They're not worth your time. They're really not worth your time. Human being is very noble. Whatever you did in the past, you can repent and just leave it behind. The one who repents is like the one who never sinned. So just repent and leave it behind and forget about it. And seek a higher life, and seek your higher self. Seek the truth from God. God is the one true reality. The closer you get to God, the more true and real you become. If you want to find your truer, higher self, your higher sense of purpose, ask God for it. Pray to Him regularly. Ask Him your questions. Is this true? Is this correct? Which one is right? And the answers will come. Because every heart really is under His control, and the heart is where you're making decisions. In reality, that's what a human being really is. They're a heart with limbs. Your eyes are a limb. Your head is a limb. That's what a limb is defined as here. Your hand is a limb. And in the heart, you're making decisions and turning and looking at things and looking away from things. The heart really is under His control, so He can turn hearts to help you. And you'll notice that the more sincere you are in going to Him, the more you'll notice that He'll put people in front of you to help you to achieve certain things, or to heal from something, or to get past something, or just to find good people to spend your time with. That's very important. So look for the highest companionship that you can find. Look for the best friends and the highest friends you can find. People who aren't judgmental. And some people, and especially in America, they may seem godly, but they themselves also have a lot of challenges. So you overlook those. You focus on the good. You focus on God. Know that you slip and others slip too. So don't base anything on the actions of this or that human being, because every human being has a lot of good in them and a little bit of slips. And a big mistake is when you focus on the little bit of slips, and that's all you ever see, and you ignore all of this goodness. And then you can't even see this anymore, and all you see is 2 little slips. You have 2 grains of sand, which are little slips, and you're missing so much more than that of the goodness. So just focus on the good and what good God has for you in each day, because everybody God has gifts for everybody in each and every day. So seek out what He has for you. And what you can ask Him, what's higher for me in this day? There's something bigger than me, bigger for me that I can do in this day that's good for me. What's the best thing for me in this day? Give me a blessed day. Give me a lot of healing in this day. The more it's about Him, then the better it is, and the greater your understanding will grow. Seek knowledge. Seek beneficial knowledge. Ignore what's irrelevant and non-beneficial to you, and focus on what is beneficial to you. Grow in your understanding of theology. Study and read about Islam, read about the theology. It's the most advanced theology in human hands. There's no greater theology than Islamic theology. Nobody has explored God in such depth as the Muslims. The Muslims can tell you more about God than anybody else, and about spirituality. A prayer you can make is, God, point to me, to the one who will point me to you. Guide me to the ones who will guide me to you. The best friends you can have are those who are sincere towards you, like they're not trying to also get something out of you or have some type of ulterior motive, but people who are sincerely your friends for God's sake, and they remind you of God. Those are the friends that you want, and you'll find them in the Muslims. If you live in America, go to any local mosque and look for friends there, and that's a great way to spend your time. It's a great way to spend your free time. So that's what I have for you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.